Everybody thinks the croissant is French. It's not. Not really. What you're looking at is one of the great stories in baking, a story of myth, migration, and mastery. Let's pull it apart, layer by layer. You've probably heard the legend. 1683, the Turks are laying siege to Vienna. The story goes that bakers, working through the night, hear soldiers tunneling under the city walls. They sound the alarm, the city's saved, and to celebrate, they bake a crescent-shaped pastry to mock the enemy's flag. Great story. There's just one problem. Folklore. That same story gets told about the bagel, and about Kugelhof, that ring-shaped cake. When you've got one origin myth recycled across 3 different bakes, it stops being history and starts being folklore. So if the siege story isn't true, where did this thing really come from? Meet the real ancestor, the Austrian Kipferl. We've got it documented all the way back to 1227, sitting among the Christmas treats handed to a Viennese duke. But here's the thing. The Kipferl wasn't flaky. It was an enriched bread dough. Dense, chewy, no lamination at all. Closer to a sweet roll than to anything you'd buy in a Paris cafe today. Now the migration. And no, it wasn't Marie Antoinette. That's another myth, no documentary evidence behind it. The man who actually carried it to France was August Zang, 1838, an Austrian artillery officer who opened a Viennese bakery at 92 Rue de Richelieu in Paris. His steam oven gave the bread this glossy sheen, and Parisians went wild for it. That's where the word Viennoiserie comes from, the bread of Vienna. So let's line them up side by side. The Kipferl, Austria, 13th century, a mixed yeast dough with the fat worked right in, dense and chewy. The modern croissant, France, 20th century, laminated puff pastry with anywhere from 16 to 50 distinct layers, flaky and honeycombed. Same shape, 2 completely different breads. So what's the dividing line between a bread and a pastry? It's not the shape, it's this. The earliest recipe for the modern flaky croissant doesn't show up until 1905, and it gets codified by a baker named Sylvain Claudius Goy in 1915. The innovation that changed everything? Lamination. Let me show you how lamination actually works. Step 1. Heat hits the pastry. Step 2. The water trapped in that cold butter turns to steam. Step 3. The expanding steam pushes those elastic gluten sheets up and apart. And step 4, the gluten sets and locks the airy layers in place. That's it. That's the whole engine. And the result is that honeycomb structure you see when you tear one open. So think about the timeline here. It took 700 years to perfect the shape, and only 100 to perfect the shatter. On the left, the 13th century Kipferl, tight and bready. In the middle, Zhang's 19th century croissant, and on the right, Goy's lamination. Same family, 3 very different crumbs. Here's a secret hiding in plain sight. In France today, the shape tells you what's inside. The straight one, the croissant au beurre, that's pure butter. The curved crescent, the one we all picture, that's the croissant ordinaire, and it's the one made with margarine or blended fats. So the true crescent shape, the one from the legend, ended up reserved for the cheaper bake. Funny how that worked out. Once you understand it's all built on one thing, a yeast-leavened, laminated dough, the whole family tree opens up. You've got the purist, the croissant au beurre. You've got the sweet fillings, pain au chocolat and pain au raisin. You've got the second life bake, the almond croissant, where day-old croissants get soaked in syrup and baked again with frangipane. And you've got the savory side, ham and cheese. One dough, endless directions. And it didn't stay in France either. In Italy, you've got the cornetto, softer and sweeter, filled with custard or jam. In Germany, the Lausanne croissant, dipped in lye for that pretzel-style mahogany crust. In Poland, the rogel, with a white poppy seed filling and actual EU-protected status. And then the viral hybrids, the cronut and the croffle. The dough kept traveling, and everywhere it landed, it picked up something new. All right, enough history. Let's get to your bench. Because here's what I want you to hold on to. Every single problem a home baker hits with croissants is a temperature problem or a patience problem. It is not a talent problem. Let me say that again. Not a talent problem. This right here is the one that gets everybody. Lamination only works when your dough and your butter share the exact same firmness. Too cold and the butter shatters and tears your gluten network. Too warm, around 32 Celsius, 90 Fahrenheit, and the butter melts and your layers blur together into one greasy mess. The sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone, is around 19 Celsius, 66 Fahrenheit. Hit that and the magic happens. So what is a croissant, really? It's a collaboration. An Austrian shape, the Kipferl. Parisian marketing, Zang's Viennoiserie, and a 20th century French technique, lamination. 3 cultures, 3 centuries, meeting in one bake. That's the truth most people never hear. Innovation happens at the intersection. So the next time somebody tells you the croissant is French, you'll know better. The crescent is just a shape. The dough is a legacy. Now it's your turn. Time to build your layers. And if learning the story behind the bread matters as much to you as learning how to bake it, that's exactly what we do inside Crust and Crumb Academy. Every week we bake a different bread, but we also explore where it came from, how it evolved, and why generations of bakers still make it the way they do. We believe understanding the bread makes you a better baker. If that sounds like your kind of community, come find us at Crust and Crumb Academy, the #1 bread baking community on school. Come bake with us.